Let's welcome in Mike Piazza's former manager, Bobby Valentine. Thank you so much for joining us. You were in the dugout for that iconic home run after September 11th. Describe that moment.
Well, I've tried to describe it many times, and I've always fallen short because it was so spectacular. It was so emotional. It was so much of almost an out-of-body experience that watching Mike take that swing, hearing the crack of the bat, and seeing the world change as it did, and right before our very eyes, was a miraculous moment. And congratulations to Mike for being remembered for that, but also for all the great work he did in a Met uniform and a baseball uniform, and now in Hall of Fame uniform.
And what did that home run specifically do for not just New York, but the game of baseball, really, Coach?
Well, once again, it's hard to articulate it, but, there was a bit of a divide. Some people didn't want to play in New York. Some people thought the season should be canceled. Some people thought baseball was such a secondary act that it should be put on the back burner. And as it turned out, that game and baseball helped the wound heal a bit. It helped the country come together. It helped some people who didn't think they'd ever smile again, not only smile but laugh and enjoy. And it was a very fortunate situation that occurred at a very unfortunate time.
And Mike was such a clutch player throughout his career. Was there something that made you believe he would come through in that specific situation?
Well, just Mike being Mike. He didn't say much during the game, but he had a presence. And you always heard him when he'd walk by, when he'd sit down, when he walked to the plate. There was a sound of silence that made people respect his time, because when he was at the plate, it was truly his time. And he made the best of it most often, and I'm glad that I got to see it as often as I did. I'm happy for the Mets fans that we have one of ours going into the Hall of Fame, and it's a great day for baseball, but also a great day for Met baseball.
All right, you coached him for years. What made him such a great hitter?
Well, he had great concentration, preparation, and strength, and he was able to put them together more often than not. When you have the attributes that he had, and that determination, his absolute desire to succeed and never accepting defeat. I would watch him when the score was 10-0, and we would be winning or losing. And if he made an out, he took that out as seriously as the first out of a World Series game. So he was determined to do as good as he can, as often as he can, and his good enough is going to get him to Cooperstown, and that's a good thing.
And what did it do for that clubhouse to add a superstar like Piazza to the equation when you were so close already to competing?
Well, if you remember, it was a real crazy situation because we had one of the best catchers in the game of baseball who just set a home run record for catchers the prior season in Todd Hundley, and all of a sudden Mike Piazza was there. So the clubhouse itself was kind of divided. It was confused. But what it did for us going forward was allowed us to rally around Mike. It allowed other teams to respect us a lot more than they did in the past, and allowed us to respect ourselves a lot more than we did in the past.
Other than that moment on September 21st, 2001, what other memories stick out in your mind when you think of Mike Piazza?
Oh, I just remember the moments of Mike being kind and generous when he would reach out to a kid in a wheelchair, unbeknownst to anyone, and give up his time and his energy. I loved when he smiled. I loved when he was happy. Of course, the home run in the 8-1 game against the Braves when we came back to win that game, and Shea Stadium was rocking. Of course, that last swing of the 2000 World Series that I thought was a home run against Mariano are vivid memories. But, the things that are indebted in my memory are the times when Mike gave of himself, and that was often.
Where does he rank in terms of the best players you ever managed?
Well, he's right there with the best players that I ever managed. I guess I have a fistful of guys that he's going to join in the Hall of Fame, and including Nolan Ryan and Ricky Henderson, Goose Gossage, and others. But he's as good as I ever had. There's no doubt about that.
Bobby Valentine, Mike Piazza's former coach. Bobby, we thank you so much for coming on, man.
Indeed, a pleasure. I'm happy for Mike and all the Met fans. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.